Hi friends, I recently went on a couple of photo walks downtown with my iPhone, and it was relatively successful, I'd say. For the first photo walk, I actually created an IGTV video around the photos that came out of it that I felt good about and spoke about them in some detail, and you're welcome to check that out. I'll link below to whatever I need to link to for you to see that. I apologize for this herpes on my lip. I wish it would go away. Actually, I'm not gonna stand for this any longer. For the second photo walk, I went on a Saturday. It was a beautiful day downtown. There was Saturday energy, which is different than other day energy. It's Saturday. There's a lot of energy downtown. There's a lot of homeless people downtown. There's a lot of street performers downtown. Back to the first photo walk for a second. I found myself meandering the streets more, going down to my favorite intersection downtown, as well as wandering around one of my favorite buildings downtown, which is this giant glass monstrosity of a building, and the bottom half, where the people would be walking in front of, is really interesting. Giant panes of glass. I sincerely hope those aren't load-bearing. I think for the second photo walk, I wandered around quite a bit, but I found myself spending a lot of time in the shopping mall that is in the middle of downtown. It's a beautiful shopping mall. It has roofs that go away when it's sunny and hot and not raining outside. The roof is made of glass and it disappears. It's an outdoor mall, but when it rains or it's cold or there's some sort of meteor event, they close the roof. It's amazing. In the words of the great theologian Miley Cyrus, you get the best of both worlds. So I actually captured, I would say, 60%-ish of the photos that were successful from this photo walk in a 20-foot radius. I was standing at the top of a set of escalators, and there was light coming in from the windows and hitting people. And I also made my way over to the window and pointed down on people as they were walking on the sidewalk. For the bit with the escalator, I stood there for probably 20 minutes or so, pointing my camera in one direction because there was a sliver of light that was coming through near the top of the escalators where people would walk in front of that light and then it would hit their face in a nice way, but there were shadows behind them. It was interesting, so I was like, I'm gonna play with this and see what comes out of it. I'm not sure if this is going to work. It had its challenges, and I had to wait for the right people to come along to make it work together, and people tended to come by in couples. It's much easier to shoot a lonely person than a social person. But even with a group of 5, 10, 20, 7,000 people, there's opportunity to be found. I just quoted Miley Cyrus in my video, so that's... Yeah. Now, I attempted to squeeze the lemon of this spot for everything that it was worth. I do know that there's still juice there to be squozen, and so I must return to this spot. And if the right person comes along, the right lighting situation, it's a never-ending, eternal fountain of goodness, these types of spots. That's one of the things I love about street photography so much. What's interesting is while I'm in that moment, I want the ideal situation to come about. I crave it. I stick around so that it will come. I hope that me standing around for all of that time will turn into something beautiful. That's something I strive for and I crave when I'm out there. However, sometimes you just come out of a situation like that with some okay shots, some shots that you're not sure if they're going to play out. You're gonna feel them out, look at them later, and it's part of the process. I look out the window and my wife is holding up quarters, indicating to me that she can buy ice cream because she found enough cash laying around. After hanging around that spot for a while, I swung around and pointed my camera out the window, down at the pavement. I thought it was an interesting scene. I liked the dynamic of the people walking by and the way that looked. First off, I noticed a homeless lady sitting there leaning on a sign. They often stay in that particular spot. on that side of the road and on the other side of the road. And I actually grabbed another photo from the previous photo walk on the other side of the road that was very similar to this one. And I absolutely love how that photo turned out. So I grabbed a couple of shots of her in that spot, and it really worked well. The light, or the shadow I should say, from the sky bridge that goes across Main Street was casting a very stark shadow halfway across the sign. So like I said, I also pointed the camera straight down at the sidewalk in front of me and photographed various interesting people walking by. And I also worked the reflections in the windows into the shots. And this is something I love to do. Another photo that I felt quite good about was I made my way away from that spot that I'd spent a bunch of time in to the sky bridge. And I noticed a girl laying down flat on the bench. And a guy, I was assuming was her lover, was sitting between the bench and the window on the other side. And it was an interesting photo without the hand gesture that I ended up capturing. I sat down, I waited for things to go the way that they would go, and he happened to put his hand there, and it turned out quite nicely. At some point, I went to hydrate myself. Something I love that happens on photo walks is I get thirsty. I crave liquid. I need water. Hi, can I just get a cup of water? So I don't know if you guys remember, a while back, I dropped this camera on the pavement when I was getting out of my car, and it caused some side effects. I've potentially found another side effect. I don't know if it was from that incident, but I think it was probably related, where the camera kind of freaks out. The motor in the lens likes to have routine aneurysms, and it's not catastrophic. When it does it, I tend to just shove the lens into the camera and that fixes it. However, sometimes it'll have this episode where I think it's trying to turn on, and so the lens has an aneurysm and just keeps doing it, and it's trying to figure out a way to function properly, but it can't, and it starts panicking, and I've had to take it to counseling. And it's been a rough road. How you feeling? Do you feel sad? It's okay. Okay, at the end of these things, I like to mention creators, and they tend to be people that I follow on Instagram. There is a person I follow on Instagram called Design Candy, or Design Candy YT as the username. Now this person is a designer that plays video games on YouTube as well, but on this Instagram account, he does photography. Sort of. There is a game called Cities Skylines, which is probably my favorite game of all time. I have it, I love it. It is a city simulator game, and it is immersive and huge, and you can do all sorts of wonderful things in it. Build systems of traffic. It's a lot of fun. The game is also very aesthetically beautiful, and what he does is he creates photography inside his cities, and it's quite nice. The lighting is pleasing, the framing is organized and interesting and well done. He'll share screenshots from other games as well, but from what I can tell, it tends to be predominantly City Skylines. And whenever one of his photos shows up in my feed, I have to differentiate it from the real world. It takes a second, but I enjoy what he does. I think that is it for this one. Thank you so much for watching. I would love to hear your thoughts. Please feel free to check out my shop if you want to support what I'm up to. I hope you have a lovely day. Goodbye.